All right, guys, welcome back to another stream. I hope you guys are all doing well. Hope you guys are all hanging in there right now for Bitcoin. Okay, but Bitcoin, okay, is holding up very well. Okay, it's currently at $30,000, so it's still looking pretty good for Bitcoin, right? It really is. Okay, in my opinion, and we know Bitcoin has in fact been, in between, $31,000 and of course $30,000. So we are in fact seeing a support and resistance line, okay, obviously for Bitcoin right now. But in today's stream, guys, there is in fact a fair few things that I want to, keep you guys updated on for Bitcoin, of course. And if, in fact, there is in fact, a fair few charts, and I want to show you guys as well for, today's stream. I am in fact starting today's stream a bit more earlier than usual. Okay. So right now, guys, you guys can clearly see that Bitcoin is currently at, still 30,000, currently 30,300. So Bitcoin is still, holding up very well. And you guys can clearly see a few hours ago, we actually saw Bitcoin going above. It was actually pumping, right? We saw Bitcoin pumping back up to $31,000. And once again, it did in fact break down back down to 30K. So what is going on with Bitcoin lately? Right? Why is Bitcoin all of a sudden, okay, every single time, okay, I mean it, right? Every single time we see Bitcoin break above $31,000, okay, it goes back down to 30K. Why is that? And you guys can clearly see, right? It's been happening for the past 2 weeks, right? For the past, 2 weeks, okay, we have literally been seeing Bitcoin doing the same movement, okay? It has in fact been consolidating. It has in fact been, moving on its side for quite some time. So why is that? So I want to talk about that more, right? And I want to show you guys a fair few charts that Bitcoin will not consolidate forever. It will pump. Okay, I'm telling you guys that right now. Okay, it will pump, just like I've been mentioning for the past few days and past few weeks, that many times, okay, that Bitcoin will eventually have a massive upside. Okay, a massive pump up to the upside. Okay, we'll have another leg up, another rally up. Okay, so we just got to be very, very patient. But I've been telling us many times, Bitcoin likes to, consolidate and moves on its side a fair bit. And days like this where, not much movements is in fact happening for Bitcoin is actually the most important, right? We should be buying, okay? I've been telling us many times, even though, yes, Bitcoin currently at $30,000, it's still a great buying opportunity right now. We're still in the buy zone, even though, yes, guys, for the past few months, especially this year in 2023, all of 2023, we have in fact been seeing Bitcoin, pump, right? But you guys understand, it's still a great opportunity to buy Bitcoin. Okay, Bitcoin is nowhere near its previous all-time highs. Okay, we all know that. So it's still obviously, a great buy right now for Bitcoin. Okay, it truly, truly is. So the market today is looking pretty, it's looking a bit better than where it was yesterday. Okay, the market right now is actually dropping. Okay, earlier it was actually, the global crypto market cap was above 1.2 trillion. Now it's below that. Okay, and overall the market is not really moving. You guys can clearly see that. Okay, you guys can clearly see 0.27% up, right? So you guys see Bitcoin is slightly down, Ethereum is down 1%. Okay, a fair few altcoins are also down 1% as well. You guys can see XRP, Cardano, Dogecoin, all three down 1%, right? Solana's actually pumping 4%, Litecoin down 2%. So it's just one of those days again where majority of altcoins, okay, and I mean majority of them are in fact having a slight drop, but they're still holding up, very, very well. Okay, and we are in fact seeing a fair few altcoins pumping. You guys can see Bitcoin Cash is still pumping 14% today. For the past 24 hours, Bitcoin Cash is up 14%. And we know Bitcoin Cash has actually been pumping for the past, few weeks, right? If you guys look at it over here, right, for the past month, for the past 30 days for Bitcoin Cash, it's up 100%, 161%. So that's absolutely amazing to see for Bitcoin Cash, right? So yes, it's pumping today 14%. For the week, it's up 17%. So Bitcoin Cash is still pumping, which is absolutely amazing to see. Okay, but other altcoins, not much movements at all. Now let's talk more about Bitcoin. Okay, so the Bitcoin touches a 13-month high on growing ETF. Okay, we know, a lot of institutions out there are in fact, filing for, Bitcoin ETFs, and we know the biggest one, BlackRock. Okay, and BlackRock is obviously partnered with Coinbase. Okay, we know that. So yes, BlackRock, okay, is filing for Bitcoin ETFs. We already know this. Okay, even the CEO, Larry Fink, okay, the CEO of BlackRock, he even said himself, I think it was yesterday, I even talked about this in yesterday's video, that he was mentioning how bullish he was with Bitcoin, right? He made some comments about Bitcoin, and it seems like he's going all in on Bitcoin. So if you guys haven't seen yesterday's video, you should definitely check it out. It's pretty interesting on what he had to say about, Bitcoin. Okay, because remember, guys, right? Larry Fink, right? He was not bullish in Bitcoin like a couple years ago. Around 5 to 6 years ago, back in 2017, back in 2018, right? He was not bullish with Bitcoin, right? He was calling Bitcoin like money laundering and whatnot, right? But now Larry Fink is saying all these positive things about Bitcoin, why we need Bitcoin. He thinks Bitcoin is pretty much, digitizing gold, right? So he seems like he's going all in on Bitcoin, guys. Okay, so obviously with BlackRock filing for Bitcoin ETFs and a lot of different institutions out there, right? Different institutions. The big guys, right? Fidelity, Invesco, and many more, right? They are in fact coming into Bitcoin. They are in fact coming to the crypto space and whatnot. And as more institutions start coming in, we're going to see, the crypto space grow, and of course, Bitcoin grow. We know Bitcoin is about to pump. Okay, we're about to have the halving event, and this is going to give a good little push for Bitcoin to pump, right, for the next Bitcoin bull run. Okay, for the next Bitcoin bull market, for us to enter the next bull market, right? This is going to give it a great push with news like this, guys. Okay, so it's looking pretty good for Bitcoin. It looks like the future for Bitcoin is looking pretty bright. Okay, it really is. So that's why, guys, we all should be very bullish with Bitcoin right now. We should not be bearish at all. Okay, some exciting news is in fact happening for Bitcoin and crypto, especially Bitcoin. So we all should be very bullish, guys. Okay, very bullish. Now, there is in fact a fair few charts. You guys can clearly see there's a lot of tabs today in today's stream. So there is in fact a fair few charts that I want to show you guys. Starting with this one. Now, if you guys haven't seen my most previous videos, I've already talked about these charts, but in case you guys haven't seen those videos, I'm going to talk about it in this stream. But like I mentioned many times, right, we have in fact been seeing Bitcoin hovering between $31,000 and $30,000 for quite a bit, right, for almost 2 weeks. Okay, for almost 2 weeks. Just think about that, right? So this is a very important time right now to just think where Bitcoin will potentially be heading, right, in the future. And I've been telling you guys many times, right? I really do believe once Bitcoin breaks above, $32,000, okay, once it reaches a new high for this year, okay, once we see Bitcoin touch around 32K or even surpass $32,000, I think we will in fact see another rally up from there on, another leg up for Bitcoin. Okay, so you guys can clearly see for the past 2 weeks, every single time we see Bitcoin touch $31,000, okay, it's a very strong resistance line at 31K because Bitcoin always breaks down, and that's exactly what Bitcoin is doing right now, right? Clearly, you guys can clearly see Bitcoin is in fact breaking down right now, okay, right there, right? So it was in fact at $31,000, okay, and now it's breaking down. So yes, this is in fact a very strong resistance line for Bitcoin. Okay, it truly is. Now here's another chart that I want to show you guys. Okay, Bitcoin held pretty well, okay, inside this bar, okay, which obviously is in fact a resistance line and a support level. So you guys can clearly see 31K and of course around $30,000 is a support level. Okay, we actually haven't seen Bitcoin break down below 30K for the past 2 weeks, which is great. You know what I mean? So in my opinion, yes, Bitcoin is still, consolidating, but it's still holding very strong at $30,000. And that's really all that matters, right? And if Bitcoin were to, break down the support level, right, it's only going to go down, pretty low, you know what I mean? But not too low, it's going to go down to maybe, 29, 28, 27 maybe. If worse, right, it could potentially drop to $27,000, but I don't think we will see Bitcoin drop back down to 25K. Okay, that's just my personal opinion. I think that's just very unlikely, to happen, right? Because we already had a breakout. Bitcoin's holding pretty strong at $30,000. So if Bitcoin were to, have a breakdown, okay, of support level of, 30K, if it were to drop back down to 29, 28, it's not going to drop too much, right? It's not going to drop to like $20,000 or something crazy like that, right? So Bitcoin is still holding up very strong in my opinion. Okay, it really is at $30,000. Obviously, it's still in between $31,000 and of course $30,000. So it's still looking pretty good for Bitcoin, right? It really is. So this chart right here is indicating that what we saw back in April, okay, could potentially happen for this month in July. And I've been telling you guys many times that July, right, Bitcoin does actually, perform pretty well this month, right? For the past, few years, we have in fact been seeing Bitcoin perform pretty well for the month of July, right? We saw that last year in 2022, which was amazing because, last year, right, we know 2022 was a terrible year for Bitcoin and crypto. That entire year, we saw Bitcoin crash. We saw, just crypto, right, currency crash like crazy. Okay, and that's because a lot of negative things did in fact, happen around the crypto space. Like for example, a lot of crypto exchanges shutting down, going bankrupt, right? And they're just shutting down for good, right? We know Celsius was one. We know FTX was also another big one. Okay, and that caused obviously Bitcoin and crypto crash. And of course we saw for something terrible like Terra Luna, right? Who remembers, right? In May of 2022, we saw Terra Luna crashing, and that caused Bitcoin to dump a lot, and of course just altcoins, right? The entire crypto market dropped massively. So yeah, a lot of things caused Bitcoin and crypto to crash, and we're obviously in a bear market. So yeah, that year was a terrible year. You know what I mean? So if you survived 2022, you can literally survive anything. Okay, but yeah, back to the charts. What happened in April, it looks like it's gonna happen in July. Okay, like I said, July usually Bitcoin does perform pretty well. So we saw in April that Bitcoin was in fact consolidating. Okay, it was in fact forming this consolidation in between this resistance line, okay, of 27K, and of course, a resistance line, right, of $28,500, around $28,000, right? Who remembers back in April, literally just a couple months ago, right? Who remembers? And then we saw Bitcoin having a pump up. It broke out of it. Okay, it broke the resistance line and it broke out. Okay, potentially that's what's going to happen with Bitcoin. It's going to break the resistance line of $31,000 and reach 32K, like what I've been mentioning many times. And once we actually see Bitcoin reach 32K, it's going to be all ups from there. Okay, so it's looking pretty good for Bitcoin, right? It's looking pretty good for Bitcoin. And you guys know, these patterns like to repeat itself. Okay, it really is, right? Just like this chart that I'm about to show you guys. Okay, so when Bitcoin breaks above $32,000, a massive pump is in fact coming. Okay, you guys can clearly see that. So once it breaks this resistance line of $31,000 and it breaks up to 32, another rally is coming. Okay, you guys can clearly see. Okay, let me just go through it real quick. Back in November and December, Bitcoin was in fact at its bottom, especially in November when we saw Bitcoin at around $15.8 thousand, just below 16K, right? Who remembers? Right down here. And then out of nowhere, we saw Bitcoin having a pump up in 2023. Early this year, okay, in the New Year's, we saw Bitcoin pump. Okay, so January was obviously a great month for Bitcoin. We had a 40% return just in January. So that's absolutely amazing to see. And you guys can clearly see that Bitcoin did in fact have a pump. So it went back up to this line, okay? And it went back up to this price target, this level, and it kept going up. It broke out of it, okay? And then Bitcoin obviously had a little small correction, and then it broke out again, okay? And it made a new high for 2023, and then it dropped, right? We know that, right? Bitcoin went up to like $24,000, and then it dropped all the way down to around just below 20K, so around $19.8 thousand. And then out of nowhere, it had another massive pump up, and it went back up to 24K and actually surpassed it, broke the resistance line. Okay, and it went even higher. And then Bitcoin was in fact consolidating right here around April, and this is the chart what I'm talking about right here. What happened in April? This is the chart that I'm talking about right here, right? So this is what's happening right here. Okay, and you guys can clearly see Bitcoin break out, and then we know for the next like few weeks Bitcoin was in fact forming this very slow downtrend. You guys can clearly see that, right? A very slow downtrend. So it went all the way up to around $31,000, and then it went all the way down, okay, to around $24.5 thousand around there. And then we know Bitcoin had a pump. Okay, so it broke the resistance line from this downtrend, and it broke up clearly. Now we're back up at its resistance line of $31,000. And this is obviously a very strong resistance line for Bitcoin, okay? Because, we haven't seen Bitcoin, surpass $31,000 just yet, meaning, we haven't seen Bitcoin at 32K. So that's why, guys, I've been telling you guys many times, once we actually see Bitcoin reach back up to $32,000, which will obviously cause it to reach a new high, a new price target, a new high for, Bitcoin this year in 2023, that's going to be very bullish. And once we actually see that, I think we're going to see a massive pump for Bitcoin. Okay, it's going to go to 34, 35. I've been showing you guys many charts that Bitcoin will potentially reach $35,000 in the next few weeks. So I really do hope that this month in July we will in fact see a 35k Bitcoin at least, right? At least, or at least break out of $31,000. That's all I want to see. I don't want to see Bitcoin at 31k ever again. You know what I mean? I don't even want to see Bitcoin back at 31k. I really don't, guys. Right? I just want to get out of this price. Okay, I really do, because we've been seeing it for a fair bit, but we're all going to be patient, guys. Okay, we're going to be very, very patient. But Bitcoin will in fact have a massive pump, guys, very, very soon. Okay, so be excited for that. Now here's another chart. Okay, the last time we actually seen Bitcoin at around $30,000, $31,000, $32,000 was actually back in around July. I want to say, yeah, around July. So last year in July, we actually saw Bitcoin right at around $32,000, $31,000, and then ever since then, right, it's dropped. And now we are clearly back up at that level of 30k, right? You guys can clearly see it. And this is obviously the 2021 floor level, because you guys can clearly see back in 2021, we were in fact, having this floor level for Bitcoin. You guys can clearly see that, and then break down out of it in 2022. And now we're back above it, right? Or we're not above it, but pretty much touching it. So this is very important level, guys, that we should be paying attention to. Okay, Bitcoin is now back up at 30k, this level. Okay, and it seems like it's a pretty strong resistance level. You know what I mean? It really is, clearly, right? So we're going to break out of it. And once we do, okay, it's going to be very bullish for Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is just going to absolutely have a massive pump up to the upside. Even though, yes, Bitcoin right now is not really doing anything. It's not really pumping, right? It's coming at 30,400, pretty much 30,500, just below it. But still, okay, Bitcoin is still holding up very well at 30k. And I think that's all that matters, right? At least it's not below, at least it didn't break the support level and break down below, $30,000, right? So it's looking pretty good for Bitcoin overall, right? It really is, guys. Okay, so that's that. Now here's another chart. You guys know I'm a big believer of history sort of repeating itself, history rhyming. Okay, it's like clockwork. Okay, so back in 2020, okay, it seems like what happened back in 2020 could potentially happen for where we are right now in 2023. It looks pretty similar, right? The patterns for the charts looks pretty similar. Okay, Bitcoin was in fact consolidating for a fair bit back in 2020. Had a little pump, had a little dip, and then was in fact consolidating once again, and then out of nowhere it just pumped like crazy. You guys can clearly see that. So it seems like we will potentially, this consolidation that we have in fact been seeing for Bitcoin for the past 2 weeks now, in between 31 and 30k, will potentially continue, right? Who knows for how long? Maybe in the next few days, maybe the next few week or so, right? But shortly, okay, it cannot consolidate forever. You guys have to understand that, right? Remember that Bitcoin cannot consolidate forever, so it will have a pump. Okay, either a pump or a little slight drop back down to the downside. But personally, I think it's going to pump, right? So really soon, it's going to have a massive movement up to the upside. I'm telling you guys right now, all of this year in 2023, we're going to see Bitcoin recover. That's literally it. All of this year, okay, we're going to see Bitcoin recover. Okay, we're going to see some pumps, like little pumps every now and then, okay, like what it's been doing for the past few months for Bitcoin, especially this year in 2023. Bitcoin has in fact been teasing us with these slow recoveries back up to the upside from its bottom, right, its previous lows, and now it's obviously forming a new pattern up to the upside, right? We all know that. So it's looking pretty good for Bitcoin, and this could potentially happen from where we are right now for Bitcoin, right? What happened in 2020 could potentially happen in 2023. Okay, so be excited for that, guys. Now, every single time, right, we have a massive parabolic movement, it's all because of the halving event. Okay, and I've told you guys many times, I've been mentioning this many times, that the Bitcoin halving is in fact about to happen. Okay, once this actually happens, we're going to see Bitcoin pump every single time, guys. Okay, please listen to this. Every single time we have the halving, Bitcoin tends to pump the most, has a parabolic movement, okay, up to the upside. It skyrockets, it pumps like crazy, okay, every single time once the halving actually happens. Okay, so this is what I always tell you guys. Okay, the year 2024 and the year 2025 especially, it's going to be a great year for Bitcoin and crypto, right? It really is. And that's when we will officially be in the next bull market, right? So yes, every single time, guys, we have the bear market, it drops and we create a bottom, and then a couple months later, once we actually hit bottom, we see Bitcoin slowly have a recovery. And this is very important, because this is when we see Bitcoin have a very slow movements, up to the upside. Yes, it's pumping, but it will in fact have slight slightly slow movements up to the upside. It will in fact consolidate. It will have some corrections. And that's exactly what we have in fact been seeing for Bitcoin all of 2023. You guys can clearly see that, right? It will pump. Okay, check this out. So it will pump, and then it will have little corrections. It will drop, and then it will pump again, and then it will drop. Okay, and then it will pump again. Okay, that's exactly what Bitcoin is doing right now. It's slowly recovering. Okay, it's not, straight up just, full on just pumping like, out of nowhere. It's slowly going up to the upside, guys. Okay, so this always happens, right? This always happens for Bitcoin. And then once we actually have the halving, okay, you guys understand, right? Once we actually have the halving event, give it a few weeks, give it a few months time, and then it's going to pump. Okay, so that's why, guys, I've been mentioning this many times. We're going to see a massive movement for Bitcoin towards the end of the year in 2024. Like what we saw in 2020, late 2020. So, towards the end of the year in 2020, okay, we saw Bitcoin started to pump. And then, of course, early of 2021, that's when it really skyrocketed and it had a parabolic bull run. Right? You guys clearly see that, right? The same thing is going to happen for next year in 2024. Please understand this, guys. Okay, the year 2024 and the year 2025, okay, it's going to be an amazing time for Bitcoin and crypto, right? So be excited for that. Even though, yes, Bitcoin right now, it seems sort of boring, but this is the most important times, guys, to start buying. We are still in the buy zone. So since Bitcoin is, in fact, consolidating at this level of pretty much $30,000, take this as an opportunity to buy. Don't miss this opportunity, guys. Okay, don't miss it. We are still early. Bitcoin is nowhere near its previous all-time highs, so please take this as an opportunity to buy more Bitcoin. Not financial advice. Always do your own research, as always, okay? But just my personal opinion. We are still in the buy zone, guys. Okay, so don't miss this opportunity. If you want to make money with Bitcoin and crypto, you better take advantage now with these prices, because soon enough, they will pump, okay? And they will change in the next few months, okay, to a higher price. So just think about that, right? The time is ticking. Okay, we don't have a lot of time left till we actually see a massive movement. And look at this. Check this chart out, right? The clock is really ticking now. Okay, we know Bitcoin has obviously dropped all of 2022 and it reached a bottom, okay, of around $15,000 last November. And it's clearly breaking out of its bottom right now. You guys can just clearly see that. So it's looking like Bitcoin will continue to pump up to the upside. There's no way in hell, you guys can clearly see in Bitcoin history, there's no way in hell we have seen Bitcoin go back down to its previous lows. So that's why I always tell you guys, right, many times that we won't see Bitcoin back down at $20,000 or below, $20,000 ever again. It's all ups from here. Okay, and this chart just clearly shows you guys that we are in fact in the next, bull cycle. It's going to happen. Okay, it's going to be a very slow movement as of right now in 2023, but after we have the halving, we're going to see Bitcoin pump, okay, like crazy. Okay, so yeah, right now we're just seeing some teaser pumps. Bitcoin's sort of teasing us right now, but soon enough, it's going to pump, guys. So be excited for that for all my Bitcoin holders out there. Again, this chart is beautiful. You guys can just clearly see, in Bitcoin history, how much Bitcoin does in fact pump up to the upside. Every single time, we are in fact about to enter, the halving, you can just see how much Bitcoin is about to pump up, right? So that's that. Now, historically, bull market starts when the weekly stoic RSI pulls back and maintains the middle band level. Okay, so we just saw that happen as Bitcoin pulled back to $25,000 and a rebound. So, I wouldn't say, guys, okay, I've been saying this many times, that I wouldn't say we are in fact 100%, in a bull market just yet. Okay, we're still in a bear market. Please understand that, right? Bitcoin is obviously nowhere near its previous all-time highs. Okay, it's not even halfway through its previous all-time high. So in my opinion, it's still obviously a great buy for Bitcoin. It's still a buy zone, right? It really is, because it's nowhere near its all-time highs, right? Its previous all-time highs. So if you really think about it, it's still a great buy for Bitcoin, especially for long term. And we should be investing for Bitcoin for long term, because Bitcoin is obviously a great asset to invest in for long term, right? We know Bitcoin has store of value. Okay, over the years, it's obviously pumped like crazy and it's held its value. Okay, it really has, right? And it will pump even more in the next, bull cycle, right? In the next bull market. So be excited for that, guys. But I will say this, since we're not officially in a bull market just yet, we're still in a bear market, I will say this. This is obviously, the beginning, the early stages of the next, bull market, right? We have already hit bottom. Bitcoin is clearly, breaking out, creating a new pattern up to the upside. So I will say that this is, in fact, the early stages of the next bull market. We're not quite there yet, though, but this is the early stages of the next bull market. So that's looking pretty good for Bitcoin, right? It really, really is. Now, I want to show you guys this, just to show you guys that we're not even halfway through, Bitcoin's previous all-time highs. We know Bitcoin's previous all-time highs was in fact around $69,000, and you guys can clearly see in this chart, we're not even halfway through. Like, once we actually see Bitcoin reach at least $35,000, I want to say, right, around 35K, then that's when I'll say we are, officially halfway through to reaching Bitcoin's previous all-time highs. So at this level, near halfway to all-time highs, almost, not quite, right? You guys can clearly see that, right? We are 50% almost back to Bitcoin's previous all-time highs, right? Once it actually reaches around $35,000, that's what I would say. Okay, so it's looking pretty good for Bitcoin, right? So be excited for that, guys. Be excited for that. And yes, all of 2023, Bitcoin has just been pumping, right? So it's looking pretty good. Okay, it really, it really, really is. Now, here's another chart that I want to show you guys. Our last chart for today's stream. You guys can clearly see Bitcoin has only just broken out from its macro downtrend, okay? And we know this happened, a few months ago. And since the breakout, it has been going on its sideways for the most part, right? We know Bitcoin has, in fact, been consolidating. Like, once we actually saw Bitcoin break this macro downtrend a couple months ago, right? A few months ago, Bitcoin has just been moving on its side, but it will potentially, move up, to the upside, guys, right? It really, really is. Okay, and it's looking like it's pretty bullish for Bitcoin. You guys can clearly see, even in previous years, once we actually broke down the macro trend, right, downtrend, the macro downtrend, every time we break out of it, Bitcoin does in fact pump. You guys can clearly see that, right? So it's looking like Bitcoin will potentially have a pump as well very, very soon in the next, few years. So of course, 2024 and 2025. So it's looking pretty good for Bitcoin, right? The future is bright for Bitcoin, guys. Okay, it really, really is. Even though it may seem boring right now, but it's not. But you guys can clearly see the Bitcoin monthly returns is currently at 0.41%. We're still, in the greens. But that's because, it's gone down a fair bit. And that's because, obviously Bitcoin has in fact been dropping as well itself. So that's why, the Bitcoin monthly returns for this month in July is still going down. But, we're still early into this month. Okay, it's the 7th of July for me. Most likely the 6th of July for you guys watching this video. But, it's, we're still early into this month, you know what I mean? So we still have a fair few weeks into this month. We still have legit another 3 weeks into this month. And I'm just really excited and pumped to see where Bitcoin is going to be heading for this month. Because like I said many times, usually July is a great month for Bitcoin. You guys can clearly see, usually July, Bitcoin does perform its best. You guys can see literally just last year, Bitcoin was up 16%. Right, and 2021 was up 18%, 2020 was up 24%. Absolutely amazing to see for Bitcoin. So I'm hoping this year in July for Bitcoin, we do in fact see a similar movement like what we saw in previous years. Okay, so I'm excited for that, and I really do believe, we will in fact see at least a 35K Bitcoin. Okay, I really do believe Bitcoin has the potential here to reach at least, $35,000. Okay, towards the end of this month. Okay, I really want to see Bitcoin reach at least 35K for this month in July. Okay, and I'm hoping that this month Bitcoin does perform pretty well, right? But Bitcoin is still holding up very well. You guys can clearly see that. Okay, it's still at 30,000, right? So 30K is obviously a support for Bitcoin, and the resistance is obviously 31K. But it's looking pretty good for Bitcoin. Okay, it really, really is, guys. So that's really all I wanted to show you guys. Okay, it was in fact a fair few charts. I talked about a fair few things, but I told you guys many times, days like this, okay, where Bitcoin is not really moving, and you guys are probably wondering, what is happening with Bitcoin? Why isn't it moving? Why isn't it pumping or anything like that? Why is it just consolidating, not really doing anything, right? Days like this is actually the most important, okay, because you have to understand and you have to figure out, when is the next movement for Bitcoin? Is it going to be up or down? And I told you guys many times, okay, most likely it's going to be up. And even if Bitcoin does, like I said many times, even if Bitcoin does in fact break support, which is, around $30,000. So if we see Bitcoin back down at 29, 28, 27, right, it's going to have a small correction back down to the downside. It's not going to have like a massive drop. You know what I mean? It's not going to be anything like that. Even though, yes, okay, it could have a correction, it's going to bounce back up eventually, right? It's just going to bounce back up. Okay, please understand this, guys, right? So in my opinion, Bitcoin is still looking pretty good. It's in the right path right now on where it should be heading for the next, bull market. So in my opinion, Bitcoin is still holding up very well, even though yes, it's at 30K. And lately, lately has not been moving, right? I must say, Bitcoin has not been moving lately. I will agree. Okay, and I get it, right? Days like this, it seems boring, but it's the most important, guys. Okay, please understand that. So that being said, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. I hope you guys are still hanging in there. Okay, I hope you guys are still stacking into Bitcoin and accumulating into Bitcoin and whatnot, because this is obviously the perfect time to start accumulating into Bitcoin, right? And just cryptocurrency in general. But stick with Bitcoin, especially if you want to invest into crypto for long term. I would just stick with Bitcoin and Ethereum. I've been telling you that many times. You guys know that I am, in fact, a long-term investor when I'm investing into crypto, right? So I just stick with the basics. I'm really a basic person when I'm investing into crypto, right? I mainly just stick with Bitcoin and Ethereum because I know Bitcoin is not going to go anywhere. I know Ethereum is obviously not going to go anywhere as well, right? So that's why I'm really just sticking with the top boys, right? The top guns. So that's just my personal opinion. Yeah, obviously, you guys see me, investing into other altcoins like Chainlink. Okay, you guys know I'm very bullish with Chainlink, and there's other altcoins like Cardano, Solana, Polygon, Avalanche, okay, Dogecoin even, right? And many more, XRP, Polkadot. There's many more other altcoins that I am in fact investing in, but my main investments obviously Bitcoin and Ethereum, and I'm still planning on stacking more into Bitcoin and Ethereum. In fact, since it's been quite some time since I have made a investing video, whether what I'm investing and what I'm buying, right? It's been like over a week now. I might as well go ahead and do one in the next few days. So stay tuned for that. Okay, you guys will see what I'm personally buying. It will most likely be Bitcoin anyways. But yeah, that's that, guys. So guys, I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. If you guys haven't seen my most previous videos that I've uploaded today, you should definitely check them out. I would really, really appreciate that. I'll obviously talk about Bitcoin. Okay, so if you guys haven't seen those videos, you should definitely check it out. I really will appreciate that. But guys, I'm gonna go ahead and end this one. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Give a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you guys have not yet already. I really would appreciate that. And I'll catch you guys all in my next video. Have a blessed day, guys.